Good afternoon, students. Are you hearing my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So before going to start my class, I have to share a screen regarding geographical discoveries. In the last class, we already have some of the points regarding the geographical discoveries or age of exploration or scientific discoveries which is taking place in the early part of modern India, right? So in the early part of 15th and 16th century. Okay, so we already discussed the reasons, causes behind the geographical discoveries. Okay, before going to the things, what are the things happen? What are the events happen as a part of geographical discoveries? And who are the main explorers and who are the main navigators who started their navigation towards new places and around the world, passing various oceans and seas. Okay, so geographical discoveries is nothing but the knowledge of certain people in the world, like Europeans, because knowledge about the world, about the knowledge of world, knowledge about world is very limited to the people of Europe at that time because they only confined to the European territories. They not even known besides the land territories which already existed. Okay, so during the Middle Ages, they little bit know about India in the Asian part and Arabian countries in the Central Asia, like that, and the north coast of some of the territories of Africa. Some early travelers you are already known, like Marco Polo, who visited some Asian countries like China and Japan, and given certain knowledge, certain things regarding these Asian territories, about Asian territories to the Europeans. They given a detailed about the Eastern territories. Okay, so this raised the interest of Europeans about and merchants of Italy. We already discussed about the merchants from Milan who frequently visited through the land. Okay, so through the Byzantine Empire, through the Constantinople. Okay, so the merchants of Italy began to take active part in the trade with countries of the East at that time. So Italian cities began to prosper as a result of this trade. And the fall of Constantinople in 1453 to the Turks blocked the trade routes in the sense land route. Okay, so the land route to the eastern countries. Okay, to enter in the Central Asian countries. So this made the Europeans think of an alternative route to the east. These attempts resulted in the discovery of lands which okay, so through the sea voyage, through the sea routes. Okay, so these discoveries we called as the geographical discoveries discussed in the last class, and we'll see events which helped the geographical discoveries. Okay, so certain reasons also we discussed. One is the alternative route, one is curiosity of the Europeans about the new places, and there is a huge demand of certain articles from the Asian and African countries, and also Renaissance movement in Europe, which raised the rationalistic thinking and scientific thinking. And due to the Renaissance, a new inventions has taken place, like invention of mariner compass, and also like making the world map. Okay, so and invention of printing press and traveling through mechanized boats. Okay, so all these are certain things happen due to the Renaissance which happened in the European countries. Okay, and apart from these, many important rulers, particularly in the Portugal and also Spain, like uh, uh, the Henry, the navigator who encouraged the young and travelers to towards the sea voyages. He also encouraged by establishing certain training institutes. Such things we already discussed in the last class. Okay, so we have to see what are certain events and who are the important explorers who participated in these geographical discoveries. I will give you, and before that, I have to share my screen and then give you the details. Students, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Wait for a while. I will share my screen. Students, are you getting my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah, the modern age it changes in the 15th and 16th centuries. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here uh, beginning of this period, here 1453, which the fall of Constantinople to the Turks, and Turks restricted this entry of Europeans into uh, going through their territories. Okay, so which one of the important events which given scope to the invention or uh, 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 invention of new sea routes. Okay, so one you are already observing my screen regarding certain changes, social changes. You are observing the growth of middle class, where the bourgeoisie class is emerged, and next one is political changes, where authoritarian monarchies, the major states confronted each other for European hegemony. Spain dominated basically in the 16th century over the Europe. Okay, so when you see the economic change, new ways of producing and trading, such things have started, which nothing but rise of capitalism. Rise of capitalism exactly started. It's a initial period at that time because feudalism is declined. Okay, so and when you see the religious changes, new crisis and certain changes has taken place in the church, where the Reformation already started, and where the Roman Catholicism versus Protestants already started, where the Protestants already challenged the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, so these are certain changes taking place. And when you see the cultural changes, new mentality has emerged in the minds of human, like humanism and racialistic thinking, where the renaissance in the society has started. Okay, so apart from that, geographical changes has taken place. The Portuguese and Spain discoveries of new routes, new places in North American continent and Africa and Asia has started. Okay, so these are the starting point of the geographical discoveries. Okay, so when you see geographical discoveries about particularly causes we already discussed in the last class. You are watching on the screen like the map of the world according to the Ptolemy's work geography, right? So this is the a map scientifically made a world map first time in the 15th centuries. Okay. So, and you see the regions that made in discovery of new lands. You already certain regions on your screen. One is the we already discussed. Again, I will repeat it. Okay, so conquest of Constantinople, which taking place in 1453, which is need to search for new routes to Asia for the sake of spices, silk, and other valuable metals like gold and silver. Okay, so another one is the growth of the idea that the earth was a sphere. Okay, so which given a possibility to reach India by traveling west. Okay, so according to the religious belief, they thinking that the whole earth is flat. Okay, so it cannot possible to reach from one end to the another, but certain inventions proved that this is earth is a spherical one. It's like a round shape, so that you can easily reach from one place to the another by making a round around the globe. Okay, so by crossing various seas and oceans. Okay, so which given some possibility to reach India by traveling the west. Okay, so another one is technical inventions. We already discussed like mariner compass and astrolabe and caravels and which given certain accurate pointing of particular location. Okay, so which made the navigation very easier, which sea voyage very easier. Okay, so another one is new mentality, humanism plus humanism and spread of Christian faith, which is encourage the exploration of new territories, right? So these are certain causes which given boom to the geographical discoveries. Okay, so you are watching uh, the sketch map of the Silk Route. Okay, so which is from the Byzantine to the China. Okay, so from the Byzantine Empire to the China, from the East Roman Empire to the Chinese territories. Okay, so you are watching on the screen like this is like a thread or a rope. This is the Silk Route. Okay, so the silk spices like cardamom, ginger, pepper, and porcelain, perfumes, ivory, and other luxury products from the Asia entered Europe via Constantinople. Okay, so we already discussed in the last class certain Arabian merchants who visited these Asian countries earlier, and they bring back certain things, goods and material articles from the Asian countries, and which had a great demand in certain areas. And these Arabian merchants got huge profits, and by watching these huge profits, the European people more curiosity towards knowing the articles and goods, and they want to earn more gains, profits. Okay, so this is the curiosity of Europeans to showing their interest towards the towards the traveling on the seas. Okay, so when the city, Constantinople, was conquered by the Turks in 1453, Europeans had to search for new routes to reach Far East. Okay, so and this is medieval depictions of spherical earths. Okay, so there is a blind belief where they are showing, which is like a flat description of the earth. Okay, so and next one is these are certain things where certain travelers or the navigators used. Okay, so first one is you are watching a rough map of world territory, and next one is La Santa Maria, which is a, a important ship they used. Okay, so it's a Christopher Columbus ship first he used to travel towards Indies. Okay, so another one is the compass and astrolabe, which is used particularly in the 16th century, and you are watching on the left side. Okay, so certain things about and when you see the humanism. Humanism is the first the idea, not idea. It's a theory of humanism which started in the European territories at that time. Okay, because certain some things which due to certain things feudalism has decreased and the slavery also somewhat decreased, so that the humanism is quietly raised, and which given rise to thinking about the others and about the rational ideas. Okay, so apart from that, some of the European countries showing interest on these navigation, particularly like the Portugal and Spain rulers also encouraged these navigations. Okay, so when you see the Portuguese, the exploration of the Portuguese, the first one to explore the Atlantic Ocean southwards which encouraged by Prince Henry the Navigator. Okay, so the Prince Henry was encouraged many Portugal youth to towards the navigation. Okay, so the main Portugal goal is to reach India by following the African coast, sailing beyond the Cape of Good Hope. Okay, Cape of Good Hope is the southern tip of South Africa. Okay, so in different expeditions during the 15th century, they occupied the coast of Africa until nearly a century later they reached India in 1498, which is the first voyage of Vasco da Gama, who reached India in the southern coast, nothing but the Calicut. Okay, so where the Jamarins, the king of the rulers of Jamarins, who received and they welcome these Vasco da Gama. Okay, so and then they are already touched various places, and finally they reached India in 1498. And the Portuguese new maritime routes and settlements on the coast of Africa and Asia enabled them to control European trade of slaves, gold, spices, and silk. Okay, so these are certain people, particularly Henry the Navigator, who was the main person behind the sea voyages, and he sponsored basically. Okay, sponsored many navigators, and Bartolomeo Diaz also important navigator who crossed various seas, and Vasco da Gama who entered Indian territories. Okay, so this is the Cape of Good Hope is this one. Okay, so this is the southern tip of South Africa. Okay, so first of all, they don't know, they not having any idea about the shortest route through the India, but in the initial phases they are crossed this Atlantic Ocean and entered into Indian Ocean, and they entered India. Such a long distance they traveled in the initial days. But later, they easily entered Indian territories through shortest route by crossing Mediterranean Sea and through Suez Canal, entered in the Red Sea and Gulf of Persia, and entered in India. Okay, so this is a very shortest route which discovered after digging of Suez Canal in 1869. Okay, so and next one is the next episode is Discovery of America, one of the important event which taken place in the world history. Christopher Columbus planned to reach India by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean, since he believed the earth was a sphere. Okay, so John II of Portugal rejected his project in the initial days, and the Catholic monarchs accepted it. They signed certain calculations of Santa Fe, an agreement that granted Columbus. Okay, so basically, finally, he departure the follows harbor on 3rd August 1492, and 12th October 1492 he arrived the Bahamas. Okay, so he entered in West Indies Island. Okay, so Columbus made three voyages to the new lands. Finally, he died in 1506, and still thinking that he had reached the Indies. Okay, so Indies in the sense he want to reach Indian territories, but unfortunately he entered in the West Indies Islands. Okay, so these are sea from the North America to the Europe and African countries. Okay, so these are various sea routes. We'll discuss in detail, and which is America, which is basically named after the very Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian explorer who was the first to recognize the territories as a new continent. Okay, so and next one is Next one is the Balboa, Nunes de Balboa, who was crossed the Panama and discovered the Pacific Ocean. He was the first person who made the great sail towards the North America and entered in the South America. Okay, so next, another important explorer we have to be discuss is the Magellan. Okay, so I will give you some of the things regarding Bartholomew Diaz and Henry the Navigator. And Prince Henry of Portugal was a great patron of navigation, and though not a sailor himself, he got a great interest in the navigation. Okay, so this had earned him the title navigator. He had got prepared maps of coastal Africa through sailors who sailed in those areas. He was hopeful of sea route to India via the western coast of Africa. After his death, there was no serious effort to discover any new route. Okay, so it was in 1486 that another sailor, Bartholomew Diaz, tried to sail south along the western coast of Africa, and he could not travel beyond the southern tip of Africa because of adverse currents. Okay, so adverse currents in the sense certain hurdles which created in the oceans. Okay, so he called this the Cape of Storms, but his King John II of Portugal called it the Cape of Good Hope. Okay, so when you see Christopher Columbus, an Italian sailor, believed that the Far East could be reached more quickly and easily by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. His belief was based on the theory that Earth is spherical body, and he got financial support from Queen Isabel of Spain and started his voyage in 1492 with 88 sailors and 3 ships. He kept sailing in unknown seas till he reached a land which he believed was India. Later, it was discovered that this was not India but an altogether a new land. It was called the West Indies. Okay, so later it was Amerigo Vespucci who discovered the mainland of America. Okay, so next one, Vasco da Gama. Uh, Vasco da Gama was commissioned in 1497 by the King of Portugal to proceed further than the Cape of Good Hope. And after traveling for 10 months and 12 days along the west coast and east coast of Africa, then across the Arabian Sea, he reached the Calicut in 1498. With this, Vasco da Gama discovered the he returned home with spices and the precious stones, and the value of goods he could carry was estimated to be 60 times more than the cost of the expedition. Okay, so with this discovery, the Portuguese became the masters of Eastern trade later. And about the Magellan, uh, Magellan was another Portuguese who undertook another great voyage during the period of 1519 to 1522. So he traveled along the coast of South Africa, South America, and reached its southern tip. Okay, so this strait named after the Magellan, and from there he entered into a new ocean, which he called as Pacific Ocean. And traveling across, he reached the islands, which are today known as the Philippines, and he was killed there, unfortunately. And but his sailors continued their journey across the Indian Ocean and reached back to the Europe again. So he was. This trip was the first trip who crossed the world. Okay, so who made a travel around the world, and this they got the credit for sailing around the world. This the process of geographical exploration started by these people continued for some more time. Okay, so all these are important sailors who were in the history, who made the history. Okay, so uh, when you see, okay, so before going to end my class, I have to give you some effects of geographical discoveries. Okay, so what are certain consequences about these geographical discoveries. Okay, so before going to that, I have to again share my another screen, and I will give you the remaining points. Okay, so effects of geographical discoveries, and before going to these, I have to share my screen again. Students, wait for a while. Are you getting my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right. Already the introduction is we completed, and okay. So impact of Renaissance, where the impact of Renaissance could be found in motivating the geographical discoveries, and sorry, not impact. Okay, so anyhow, I will give you the effects of the geographical discoveries, and the geographical discoveries had far-reaching the consequences for the entire world. And with the discovery of sea route to India, Italian control of eastern trade ended, and the Portuguese for a while were able to establish their monopoly over the European trade with Asia, and but soon they were supplanted by the British, the Dutch, and the French later. And discovery of trade routes and new lands opened up new potential for a trade. A large number of articles were reported into Europe, and also goods manufactured in the Europe found markets elsewhere, everywhere. Okay, so increased trade brought prosperity to the countries of Europe. And explorers and traders were followed by the missionaries. Many of the explorers firmly believed that their main aim was to carry the knowledge of his son and to spread the gospel to four corners of the world. And the geographical discoveries therefore led to the spread of Christianity also. Okay, so which in the religious sphere, the Christianity was spread throughout the world. Okay, so entered into new places through the geographical discoveries, and almost all countries which took part in geographical explorations also wanted to establish their political authority over the newly explored areas, and they established their colonies in Asia, Africa, and America. Okay, so the race for colonies led to wars among the European powers. Okay, so and colonialism led to destruction of some of the native civilizations to America, and where certain two examples at American civilization, American content, American uh, territories are the Inca and Aztec civilizations, and the natives were subjected to exploitation and slavery, and the slave trade developed. Thus, prosperity of the European powers had a direct link with the slave trade. And like the slave trade has started with geographical explorations only. And the establishment of plantations, particularly cotton, sugarcane, and tobacco, became a significant development of this period. Okay, so they produce large quantities of these crops, employing the slave labor, particularly the labor from the Africa and also Asia. They were migrated to the North American continent where the plantation has taken place. Okay, so and um, which raised to certain commercialization of agriculture, and the commercial crops were um, uh, growing everywhere in the world. Okay, so uh, in the place of food crops, the cash crops has started growing. Okay, so all these are certain impact of the geographical discoveries. Okay, so this is about geographical discoveries, and there is another concept we have to see in the next class, nothing but the Renaissance. Okay, so revival of classical age and Renaissance we will see in the tomorrow class. Okay, students, are you hearing? Students, వినిపిస్తుందా?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Okay, so regarding my class, you have any doubts or clarifications or queries, you are welcome to ask me now. Vishnu, Maunika, Tirumalesh, ప్రియాంక, రవికుమార్, ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా?
లేదు సార్.
ఏం లేవా? ఓకే. సో ఈ క్లాసుకు సంబంధించే కాకుండా ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఏమన్నా ఉంటే మీరు అడగొచ్చు. ఏ క్లాసుకు సంబంధించినటువంటి డౌట్స్ అయినా సరే
సార్
మీకున్నటువంటి ఏదైతే వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ చెప్పండి.
సార్, is there any
కృష్ణ,
Asian geographical discoveries present? Is there any Asian geographical discoveries are there?
Asian
Asian. Without
at
Europeans,
that time?
is there any Asian geographical discoveries?
Uh, no, I will give you, Kumar, right?
Okay.
Okay. So is there any Asian explorers who traveled
Yes.
or who followed the sea navigation? I will give you tomorrow, right? Regarding that. Any other doubts?
No, sir.
No? Okay, right. Shall I end my class now?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
ending my class now.
Thank you, sir.